Now the eldest son became a no-name. Jacob became Israel. Interestingly enough, Israel never entered the promised land. If we have a look in Luke 15 verse 8, go across the book. And step back a bit. And I say to you that likewise there will be more joy in heaven over one sinner who repents than over 99 just persons who need no repentance. What woman having 10 silver coins, if she loses one coin, does not light a lamp, sweep the house, and search carefully until she finds it? When she's found it, she calls her friends and neighbours together, saying, "Rejoice with me, for I have found the piece which I lost." Likewise, I say to you, there is joy in the presence of the angels of God over one sinner who repents. It's not about the 99. It's about the lost one. And as we go through this talk, you'll get the gist of what I'm talking about. Then he said, a certain man had 2 sons. The younger of them, you'll know the story, the prodigal son, said to his father, "Give me the portion of goods and that falls for me." So he divided to them his livelihood. And not many days after, the younger son gathered all together, journeyed a far country, and there wasted his possessions with prodigal living. When he had spent all, there arose a severe famine in the land, and he began to be in want. He went and joined himself to a citizen of that country, and said unto him, he sent him into the fields to feed the pigs. And he would gladly have filled his stomach with the pods that the pigs ate, and no one gave him anything. When he came to himself, he said, "How many of my father's hired servants have bread enough and to spare, and I perish with hunger? I will arise and go to my father, and will say to him, Father, I have sinned against heaven and before you, and I am no longer worthy to be called your son. Make me like one of your hired servants." He arose and came to his father, but when he was still a great way off, his father saw him and had compassion, and ran to tell, and fell on his neck and kissed him. And the son said to him, "Father, I have sinned against heaven and in your sight, and am no longer worthy to be called your son." The father said to his servants, "Bring out the best robe, put it on him, put a ring on his hand and sandals on his feet, and bring the fatted calf here and kill it, and let us eat and be merry. For this my son was dead and is alive again. He was lost and is found." So they did that. Now, so the son couldn't wait, the younger son. His inheritance was divided and given to him, and he sold it off and went off and did his dash. He spent it all and spent the whole lot and had nothing left. Later on, the oldest son came along and he heard all the noise, and he said, "What's happening?" And they said, "Look, your younger son, your brother, he's come back, and Dad's putting a big party down." And he got really upset, and he said to his father, he said, "You know, I've worked my butt off for you all of these years, and I have been faithful all of these years. I haven't gone off like my brother and drunk and partied all the money away, and you have never killed a fatted calf for me." And the father said, "You're with me always, son. You could have killed any of those calves out there and had a party with your friends. Everything I have is yours." What's the story here? In this instance, we have the younger son going off and doing the big sale. In the Old Testament we had the older son despising his inheritance. The younger son despised his inheritance too. It was just money to him, it was time. He didn't want to do the miles, he just wanted it to go off and do his thing. We have a difference, the older son, and in the New Testament we have the younger son despising his inheritance. Now, when you look at both of those stories, and I mentioned that Jacob, Israel, didn't enter the promised land. In the New Testament, there was joy when the lost coin was found. There was joy when the lost son came back home. And you see, the oldest son in the New Testament, it wasn't about him, even the faithfulness that he had. It wasn't about working there, not selling and not going out there and becoming a profane person like Esau with his inheritance. The issue was he had the potential to do a lot of stuff regardless, because he was already there in the Father's house. He was with the Father. Everything the Father had was his. When the Father went, he had the lot. He could do anything he wanted, and he remained faithful. He was a hard worker and all of that. The issue is we have to start thinking about our inheritance. See, the world doesn't. It likes to do things now. It likes to have things now. It doesn't want to wait. But then there are people that are walking in the faith that are like the crippled man, who all he's known is he's been on his bed and he can't get up. There are us in Christianity that do our walks, and we know we have all of this stuff available, but the point is it's not about us. It's not about us. It's about the lost coin. It's about the prodigal son. It's about the lost one. Everything God has given us is for them. I mean, even the preachers, evangelists, the apostles, the teachers are all for the perfecting of the saints, for the work of the ministry. That's you guys. That's us out there on the seats looking at the guy doing the preaching. God is using the preacher to uplift and encourage the saints to reach into that treasure box and start unwrapping some of the gifts for the benefit of the lost one, the lost coin, the prodigal son. We are here for them. And we need to, in these last days, particularly start looking at ourselves. And we've had all this morning. It's come through. It came through the prophecy. It came through what Ingrid was saying there. It's come through the message this morning that we have to start looking at ourselves and taking account. I was reading a book about a rich man. I've forgotten his name now, but he's a multi-billionaire. And he's an Australian. He started off as a bricklayer. He went bust several times, and he went into the building arena and into the investment arena and properties. And now he's a multi-billionaire. He's a Christian Baptist boy. And he preaches on being a good steward of what God has given you. And he'd be in his 80s now. A couple of things impressed me. One is he went for a run every morning, and he bought his wife a cup of tea with a flower every morning. Now what he says is, take stock of what you have. Are you at the potential of what God has prepared you for now? Or when will you be? What age will you be at your potential? of what God is preparing in you, because God says He's prepared before the beginning of time the stuff for you to do. Are you walking in that? Now, can you write yourself a 50-page book or 50-page story or more on what your potential is and where you think God has placed you, and then how far or how much of that book have you got to at this particular stage in time? And the difference between the two, what steps are you going to take to make up to get to that particular point? Do you get the gist? You see, because if you look at all the New Testament and what Jesus was talking about, what heaven is like, He is saying that God prepared a work for each of us and He ordained us to enter into that. And we have potential there that in most cases is lying there unwrapped. In a lot of instances, we're still lying on that pallet saying we can't walk. He's saying your legs are for walking. If I gave you wings, they're for flying. I've created you like eagles. You're way up there. The chooks pick around on the ground, but you're way up there. Way up the top, way above the storms.